Hi guys, welcome back to Confessions with D Prof. So I've been getting lots and lots of questions about my funding, and before the questions came congratulations, so thank you so much. Deep down you know you're going to get it, just because you like over the years, like self-doubt and all of that has never got you anywhere. So you're telling yourself, yeah, I'm gonna get this. But then when you finally do get it, like it just feels amazing. And thank you so much all for congratulating me. Now, after the congratulations, I had lots of questions about funding your master's course or funding your doctoral studies. And this is mostly research based. Now, I do get a lot of questions for taught masters, especially physician associate studies. Stay tuned. This is mostly based for this is mostly for research studies, but I mean there might be a little gem that might help you. So yeah, stay tuned. So first of all, funding is a nightmare. So let's talk about, when we say funding, what are we talking about? So first of all, we're talking about actually going to university. You have to pay to go to university. Books, all of those things, books, going to conferences, attending special events, and accommodation if you're an international student or your course is only provided in certain places and there are some taught elements, you may have to be on campus. So this is what I'm talking about when we're talking about funding. So these are the things essentially that need to be funded. So the reason I break them up like that is because different funding arrangements may cover one aspect. So it's not because I don't think you know that you have to pay for university. That's not the reason. So yeah, so we're all speaking the same language when we go on. Okay. One of the most common routes is with a research grant. So now when I say research grant, I'm talking about with all the different sort of research councils. So there are so many, some looking in STEM, healthcare, economics, and usually they have projects ongoing or projects of interest which they are currently funding, and that funding can be complete funding, or partial funding. So complete funding would be that they pay for your fees. On top of paying for your fees, they also give you a stipend, which is living cost, to cover all those things that I talked about, so accommodation and all of those things. Now, it might be partial, so you might have to cover your university costs, but you might get the stipend and vice versa. Now, the stipend, it can range between somewhere like £14,000 to £16,000 a year, and then they cover the cost of whatever university you're going to. Now, the significance of that is that, especially for PhD study, the fees vary. So I think when I was having a look, one of the fees that I saw was like 1,300, and all the way going to like 9,000. And then if you're a international student, you're looking slightly more, depending on what university you go to. So actually, that's a very interesting, that is really an interesting route, and certainly a favourable route. Now, one of the things that is that it might not work for you if you have a particular subject in mind and a particular topic in mind that isn't being funded. So it's as simple as that. Now, there is an option to also apply for this research council grant. So once you have your own topic, however, if you don't get that, then you don't get that, or you might get partial and not the other. So you might need something else to subsidise the rest, and then we'll talk about everything else after that. So that is, all of those are at a grant basis or bursary basis, so you're not having to pay that money back, and it's money to kind of recognise your time as a research student, because you'll have some other responsibilities, maybe as an associate lecturer, and there are other responsibilities associated with that, and certainly there'll be some sort of contract. So yeah, that's one. Two is the postgraduate loans. Certainly when I was in year 9 and I was thinking I'm going to do a PhD when I'm older, there was nothing like that. So from that time, I always had in my mind that that's going to be a very difficult time for me financially. But recently there's two lots of postgraduate loans. So one is the master's loan. The second one is the doctoral loan. Now, in terms of both of them, and they're not means assessed, so that's really important to point out. But if you're having research council grants and stipend, you might not be eligible to apply for these. So you certainly have to have a look at all your options and eliminate one by one. So that's important. So for a lot of us out there who are doing our research degrees after having a professional career, you may actually get some employer sponsorship. Now, the thing with employer sponsorship, it's something that's very common in the NHS and in healthcare. So you are working as a healthcare worker, and you decide that you want to do a course for continuing professional development. But in order to get employer sponsorship, so I've had one experience where I've done a course and it was funded by my employer, and I was working full-time alongside it, and things that I had to demonstrate was, one, I had to meet the criteria for the university. Two, why it was important for myself and my own continuing professional development, why it was important for my employer and how they would benefit, and why it's important for I'm going to say consumer, but for us, for patients. And after all of those things have been considered, and also, you know, what is my dedication and my enthusiasm to do this? Because I think, so you have to demonstrate those things. And so specifically, is this something that you want to do, you know, because since being in year 9, I've wanted to do a research degree, or is this something that's actually going to benefit all the players, so meaning you, your employer, and patients in this circumstance? So for that particular funded course that I did, yes, it benefited those three, and I was funded to do that and completed, and everything was great. Now, something that you also have to consider is that your employer may ask you to sign a sort of educational contract to say, well, actually, after we funded you to do this, we would expect to benefit from, you know, the outcome of this course for X amount of period. And that's something that you have to consider. So if actually this is something that you want to do for yourself, and you don't want to have that particular relationship with your employer, then certainly I wouldn't go through the route of, you know, employer sponsorship. Or if you're working in healthcare and actually you're so interested in, I don't know, you want to do an MBA, you know, you love business, and that's something that you want to do for your own personal development, then maybe employer sponsorship might not be the appropriate thing for you, but that's certainly an option to consider, and you really, really should. So studentships, they basically invite great students from all over the world on set projects, and most of the time this is funded. So again, fees and all of those things. So that crowdfunding. I don't like the word crowdfunding because it sounds very technical. So another way is obviously family, friends, and partners, all of those things. So all the things that you've probably exhausted anyway. And then charities and grants. So for example, if you are a registered nurse, you may look, there are so many charities and bursaries that are available for nurses who want to do continuing professional development, research, and also like women in STEM, all sorts of things available. So that's something else. And on top of that, I would like to just talk briefly about working. I am a big advocate for working along your studies. I'm coming on to degree number 3 now, and I plan to work all the way throughout. That was essentially because of needs must, but in the end I certainly left off better off, I think, for so many reasons, and I talk about that in other videos. But I think when you're doing such a long course, such as a research degree or an MPhil or something like that, then working alongside is something that's, you know, important. You don't necessarily need to work in your field, but if you're getting a studentship or research council, it might be part of your sort of contract of terms that you do work within your field as a teacher or something like that. I am a big believer when it comes to education. You know, it is the investment that has priceless returns, and as we know about investments, you need to, you know, give a bit to take some out, and we certainly reap what we sow with education, and you have to give something in. And a lot of people are a bit standoffish about loans, but I think from my experience, when I look at that money that's come out from my undergraduate loan, I think, well, would I have ever earned that money you know, this amount of money without having taken that loan in the first place. So that's something to consider as well. But yeah, I mean, I've had lots of questions about funding, and I hope that that's kind of like giving you a bit of a, I don't know, like all round what's available. But like, you know, I certainly looked at all of these and I didn't go for all of them. Reason being, I didn't feel I needed all of them because I'm going to be working full time. But certainly give me a message if there's anything that you'd like me to clarify. And yeah, thank you so much. And I hope you enjoy. Take care. Bye.